Chair, fellow speakers, me. Well, I think I was normal. I am sort of normal still, but when I was a kid I think I was normal-ish. I didn't have any friends because I didn't know how to deal with social niceties and chat and stuff. So I tended to be a loner. And I went to New Guinea, which was interesting. And I went to work for a company that specialised in weird systems for the military, etc. And I was employed to come up with designs to sort out various problems. And that's where I scored, because I don't think like ordinary people. My thinking goes sort of laterally amongst other things. And so I can put things together which normally you wouldn't think of putting together. And over the period I worked for them, I got several patents and several projects that were in service with the military, particularly the Air Force. I did a lot for the Air Force. But 1974, I had the most amazing depression. And of course you fight it. You don't admit it. You carry on. And eventually my wife said, you really have to go and see the GP. So I did, and we talked, and I admitted that I had thought a lot about suicide at the time. So he gave me these pills, and that seemed to work for a while, and it all went away again. 14 years later, they discovered, well, they told me I was bipolar, which was fascinating. You know, bipolar, what's that? You go up, down. We're like, yeah, that's right, I do go up, but I do go down. When I go up, I'm awful. One year, I bought a brand new flash sports car. But I was working overseas, so what was the point? So I had to sell it. The downs, that's where it gets really nasty, because when you go down into a deep depression, things happen. First thing is, you don't go out much, you stay in. You don't wash very often, if ever. You don't change your clothes. You don't change the bedding. You hide in your pit. You don't even go for food, because if you've got food into the fridge, you eat it all. You know, that's a problem. You've got this sort of binge eating. So you don't do that. And then when they decided I really was bipolar, they put me on some pills which sort of levelled it out a little bit. But I also discovered I'm on the spectrum as well, which is nice. And so I'm Asperger's part of it, which is sort of higher up. You know, you can function quite well. There are drawbacks. The first problem with any form of autism is eye contact. You do not make eye contact. And I had to learn how to make eye contact. Because working in a field where you have to talk to customers, customers really don't want your eyes flashing all over the place. They want to look at you. So I had to learn how to do that. The other problem with Asperger's is inappropriate language. You know, really, really, really bad. Normally I control it very well, but occasionally it slips. The worst possible one I ever had was I'd gone to a wedding of one of Carol's friends who happened to be a psychologist, Mary, and she looked really good. She was in her 60s and she looked really, really good. And so I wandered over and was having a drink with her and I said, you know, Mary, eminently shaggable. And she said, Brian, you're not supposed to say things like that. You can think them, but don't say it. And I went, oh shit. Again. You know, so that's one of the problems with Asperger's. You do tend to say things that you really, really should not. So going back over to the bipolar bit, I got a therapist. I had her now for a couple of years. I see her fortnightly. and she's managed to keep me on the level most of the time. When I first started seeing her, she was talking about suicide, which you have to talk about because people, I think most people at some stage have got so low that they've thought about it, but never do anything. Well, I'd thought about it quite a lot, and I'd even got my own suicide kit set up. So when I wanted to do it, I could. And she was saying, well, you know, you really didn't ought to have that in the house, because you might use it when you don't really want to use it. And she put me back to where I was, you know, again, really suicidal. My ex-wife, this is really funny. My ex-wife, I said to her on 24th year, I said, what are we going to do for our silver wedding? And she said, nothing, I'm leaving you. And not only leaving you, she shacked up with another woman, her boss. So there's absolutely no way you can come back from that. I mean, you know, I gave that idea up, and I think at that point again I got to the suicide bit, and you know, life really was not worth living, and I happened to have a Colt 45 automatic 1911 in my safe, and I got it out and I loaded it, and I was thinking, all I've got to do is stick it in there, pull the trigger, and that's all gone. But I was weird, I didn't do it because, well, some poor bastards are going to have to clear it after me because my brains are going to be all over the wall. So I didn't do it. You know, I don't know whether this fact I've got this caring thing where I have to get involved in helping all the time and doing charitable stuff, but thinking about not spreading the guns all over the place, that's caring for someone who ever gets lumbered. So there we are. My life at the moment isn't bad. I still have this great thing with designing. I still do a lot of designing stuff, and I do a lot on the computer for radio, you know, recording and editing and all that sort of stuff. But when I actually get asked to do something with a radio station, I can see it. I don't have to draw it, I can actually see it and work it all out and then assemble it, and that's it, it's working. I don't have to draw it, which is odd. Very few people can do that, but then that's because I've got this weird brain. So, any questions relating to the sort of brain that I've got? Yeah.
Have you ever explored like choice exceptionalities and things like that? But there's like a line of like normal behaviour, and then you have an element which is above the line, which is the giftedness that you've got, and then there's behaviours below the line. But because nobody ever focuses on what's above, they always focus on the bottom. So that people with a deficit get support, but the genius never gets recognition. And often depression is a result of that genius never being recognised.
Yeah, that's always been the problem, that sometimes I have read more than the doctor.
Yeah.
There's a brilliant one. I got toxoplasmosis, which you get from cats, kittens usually, and most people have had it but don't know it. I got a really serious one, and the doctor couldn't figure out what I'd got. So I went back and said, have a look at toxoplasmosis, and she did and said, yes, that's what you've got. What do I do? Nothing. What happens if it gets worse? Well, if it gets really bad, we can give you these pills, but there's a good chance I'll kill you. Oh, right, okay, so I don't. And so I was off work for a month. But I went to see my doctor, who was on holiday, so I saw this old chap and told him, toxoplasmosis, what do we do now? And he said, yes. Well, according to the book, you're supposed to be taking these. And I said, yes, but if you read the next bit, it tells you that you might kill me. Oh, all right, I won't give you those then. So, yeah, it's very odd. Any more questions? Wow. Any more? No.
Are you still taking any antidepressants?
Oh, Christ, I'm taking 10 pills a day.
Oh, okay.
6 in the morning and 4 at night.
Whoa.
and a lot of it is relating to antidepressants, and lithium as well, of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And is that your bipolar? Is that the lithium?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to be tested every 3 months, I think, to make sure your lithium levels are right. Because if you have too much, it makes you very ill, and you don't have enough, then it ain't working.
Okay.
And I did stop all my pills once. I was so pissed off with all these pills, and I felt all right, stopped taking them, and within a week, Carol said, you start taking them again, or you're going back to Swindon. All right. So yes, that's it.
I've heard of an anti-suicide kit. Have you thought about putting one of those together?
No. No. My anti-suicide kit basically is talking to 1 or 2 people that I can talk to. But no, I haven't thought about that. The suicide kit, I do not have it anymore, but unfortunately I know how to make it. So when I do need it, so if you would like one, I can tell you.
No, you're okay.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, suicide is not something you should be thinking about. And depression, most people's depressions is fine. It's just when you get something like bipolar, you can go incredibly low.
And is that due to the chemicals? Is that a chemical reaction in the brain?
Yeah, it's got to do with that. And the lithium is supposed to smooth it out. So I don't go to this up bit. I did mention the sports car, but I also bought watches, £3,000 or £4,000 each, and I've got one worth 12,000, and I've got 30 altogether, and they're all mechanical, and they're all extremely good movements. That's because it's up there, but now I don't. You see, I can hold it at a level where I'm not spending more than 200 or 300 at a time when I'm starting to buy stuff. Yeah, I know. I haven't got it, but I keep doing it and taking money out of the savings recovery. Because poor old Carol doesn't know how much I spent.
Can I just ask you, you mentioned the spectrum. I mean, it's a phrase I've heard many times, but I guess in a sense we're all on the spectrum.
Yeah, I
suppose.
suppose.
We're all sort of in Asperger's, we're all, you know. So there's something in the middle that people can be described as.
Well, they call them as autistic, because they normally say now that you're on the spectrum. And they don't actually specify.
No,
because people can have different traits.
Yes,
It's like dyslexia. There's some.
I've heard it called a menu.
Yeah, it's more like that.
Kind of
really? When it says spectrum, it sounds like it's a linear thing. It's not.
That's interesting, actually.
I think I was actually watching a podcast today, but one of the Stephen Bartlett ones, and they were talking about ADHD, and my daughter's been diagnosed with ADHD, and I didn't realise at the time, in all her time through school, you know, it didn't occur to me at all. And in her going through the diagnosis, I learned that there's actually 7 different types of ADHD. Just that one little bit. There's 7 different types. And if anybody had said to me, which of your 3 children might have ADHD, I would have said my son. Because he was the one who used to jump over the furniture, and I had that view that ADHD was hyperactivity, and it's not. You know.
Well, I'm hyperactive in my brain.
Yeah.
My brain is like firing up all the time.
Yeah, that's what Kira's like. Yeah. And she can't focus, and constant song in my head.
Yeah.
How did you feel sharing that? Because it's very vulnerable stuff to share. Do you have any difficulty, or is it quite easy?
No,
or does it
it's
depend on who you're talking to?
It depends on the audience, but no, I don't have a problem talking about it, because I know that people need to know what's going on. They don't, you know, someone who's got it, that's rare to get them to talk about it. So you're not getting it first hand. But I just realised part of my other bit is this compulsive bit. You know, I have this situation. I mean, there's loads of them, but the current one is toothbrush. My toothbrush is an electric toothbrush, and so Fortunately, I bought a new one, so I can't do this anymore. But the toothbrush, you unplug the head, right, and then you clean the body, and then you clean the head, and you put it into the container, put the head and everything, close it. I have to do all of that before the light goes out on the toothbrush.
Oh gosh.
And if I don't make it, I've got to start again.
Yeah.
It's just so annoying that I have to do it. This new one, it doesn't have a light on it.
Oh right.
So when I finish using it, it's no light, so I don't have to worry anymore.
It's exhausting, that kind of thing.
Fortunately, I only seem to get one or two at the same at a time. It's not like you get lots of these things. I only have one or two. And I've just got one waiting to come in now. I've got rid of one. So, next one, please. Anyway.
So is it about you feeling more compassion for yourself, having, realising that you are more intelligent than you were maybe told you were?
Oh God, yeah. My parents had absolutely no idea about what I had done over the years. As far as they were concerned, that they don't want to join the big navvies, because they're really working class they were, and they could not understand the fact that I was in senior management. They really couldn't cope with it. And I used to say, well, if you don't understand, why am I driving a car like that? It's a company car. I've not paid for it. It's an incredibly expensive one. I got it given to me from the job. You're not a big nebby, are you? No. It's what it's like. I think I've come to terms with sharing how I feel, because people sometimes get quite confused about what I'm like, because they make their mind up as what I am, and in fact I'm not. And the other thing that you don't know is that I'm a total introvert, and yet I don't come across like that, because I've spent the whole of my life being an extrovert, because introverts don't get much fun. Extroverts get to have fun. So I can do all sorts of strange things. I think I'm just a bit unusual, that was all.